Hello. This is the start of a journal that I'm going to be recording about my chronic illness, which is general gut issues, IBS, whatever you want to call it. I'm doing this because I know that many of you depend on the internet to find a solution to your problems, as I did for a long time, in terms of these gut issues, right? Because we all know, or many of us know, that the medical system has failed us in terms of treating most chronic illnesses that many people suffer from on a consistent basis. And I won't get into why, but recent events in the zeitgeist have kind of pointed in that direction anyway. But for example, right? I mean, I went to the doctor earlier this year, and I was talking about my IBS and how it's gotten worse, right? My gut issues, I can't handle foods. Like, I'm eating all this, like, basically everything that I eat is causing me to feel awful. And so she's like, "Oh, IBS is for life. It's all about managing symptoms, but you can't heal from IBS, right?" Wow, thanks. And then I go to the gastroenterologist, $100 copay. And then he tells me the exact same thing. Oh, IBS is for life. Like you're gonna have to just deal with the symptoms. Here, take a fiber pill and hopefully you'll feel better. So I'm like, thanks. And unfortunately, this kind of advice is not enough for most of us suffering from these gut issues. So I'm trying to make these videos to document everything that I've experienced, everything that I've learned over the past 6 or so years of trying to solve this problem of mine, so that hopefully someone out there can benefit from my experiences, and hopefully I can help somebody out there accelerate their their journey towards optimal health or just feeling better. So my heart goes out there to all you guys who suffer from issues, IBS, SIBO, C. diff, etc., gastritis. And I understand how depressing it can be, how frustrating and how debilitating this these problems can be, and how people generally don't understand the extent to which it can affect your life and completely destroy your life. So I wish for you to have the fastest and smoothest recovery possible, even though more often than not, it's not smooth and it requires a lot of effort to get better, fighting this battle that we did not choose. So where did it start for me? It started basically when I was a kid. I mean, I've had constipation all my life, and I've it got worse and worse when through middle school, high school. I mean, I got gassy, bloated, and it was really embarrassing. I was constipated all the time, and nobody could tell me why. They just told me to eat more vegetables, I think. That's just the general advice for constipation, which actually there's a study, I can't pull it up now. I don't know where it is, but it showed that fiber actually increased constipation and that reducing fiber actually allowed people to feel less constipated. But it got my gut issues got really, really bad in high school when I went vegetarian, because I thought if you didn't have to kill animals, why kill animals? Right? It was from an ethical point of view. And so I went vegetarian and started eating all this stuff with like more FODMAPs, like beans, onions, garlic, whole grains, you name it, right? Because it was good for you, right? Supposedly. So I was eating all this stuff and I was getting bloated, gassy, constipated, and worst of all, I was getting this burning poop basically every single day, multiple times a day. And it was burning and I was constipated, it was hard to get it out, and I was in so much pain. So I started researching like how do you solve these problems? Okay, I found IBS. IBS is the general label of just like intestinal discomfort. And the most popular solution at the time, like 2019, is like basically just like low FODMAP, right? Low FODMAP diet just reduces the plant foods that are more fermentable, meaning that they feed gut bacteria at a high rate. So that and this gut bacteria feeding that happens exacerbates um, your IBS symptoms, whether it be constipation or diarrhea. Supposedly, like methane producing bacteria causes constipation, hydrogen producing bacteria causes diarrhea. I don't know how true that is. That's what they say. But so I go low FODMAP, and it kind of helps because that it at least makes me more regular. It makes the going to the bathroom less difficult, right? But it didn't solve everything. I was still getting the burning poops, and my gut health just continued to deteriorate, and I found more and more foods in the plant kingdom that were causing me to feel worse. And so in 2019, like basically that same year, I get a kidney stone. And nobody knew it was a kidney stone. I was admitted to hospital because it was so painful. It was like I was dying. And they think it's appendicitis in the hospital. The doctors think it's appendicitis, so they don't let me drink water. So I'm withheld water. And because they were going to operate on me, and then they decide it's not appendicitis later on. But basically, for hours on end, I had this kidney stone in my kidney that I was trying to pee out, but they wouldn't give me water, so I wasn't peeing at all. So how was I supposed to get it out? But we didn't know it was a kidney stone, so eventually they give me morphine, the pain goes away. I don't know when I actually passed the kidney stone, but when I found out it was a kidney stone, is the next year the same thing happens. I'm like in fetal position on the couch, like at home, like I'm so in so much pain. My mom's a doctor, so she recognizes it and she's like, "Oh, that must be a kidney stone." And then I drink a bunch of water, pee it out really quick, and it was fine. What are kidney stones? Kidney stones are most often calcium oxalate crystals in your kidneys. So basically, what was happening, and calcium oxalate crystals in your kidneys is basically end stage oxalate poisoning, right? What are oxalates? Oxalates are a plant compound used for defense. They often surround the seeds of a plant or are in the seeds of a plant or are in the leaves of a plant to prevent people or insects and animals from consuming them too much, right? They're a defense chemical. And they've been touted as the worst defense chemical um, amongst the defense chemicals because they don't cause acute symptoms. They don't affect you right off the bat, but when accumulated, they can lead to disastrous symptoms like kidney stones, amongst other things, right? So around the same time of that second kidney stone, I get like really stiff muscles. My joints feel start hurting for no reason. I wasn't even exercising at the time because my muscles were so stiff and my joints were in so much pain. It wasn't even from an injury. So what was going on is that my body was trying to divert all these oxalates that I was consuming. Oxalates are high in spinach, tomatoes, potatoes, chocolate, lots of nuts and seeds. Like lots of things contain oxalates, beets, and all of these things I was eating a lot of, right? Even though I was low FODMAP. But my body was diverting all these oxalates and storing them in all these tissues in my body because there was so much of it that it didn't want to just overburden my excretory system and my immune system, trying to get them all out. So I was like, what is going on, right? Because I had these gut issues, these painful stools, kidney stones, and like stiff muscles. So I was like, what is going on? So yeah, I learned about oxalates and then I just cut out. I didn't know that. I didn't even end up knowing that much about oxalates. I just cut out like the major oxalate containing foods like tomatoes, peanuts, chocolate, and I felt a lot better. The pain in my muscles dissipated and I was feeling better. Right. But that was kind of the extent to which I was dealing with the oxalate problem because I thought it was pseudoscience. Because doctors don't talk about it. They only talk about it to the extent that it affects your kidneys, to the extent that it causes kidney stones. But doctors don't talk about how it's affecting everything else in your body as well, how it literally takes your whole immune system to excrete these oxalates. So I think for my gut issues, oxalates exacerbated it. Oxalates are mainly responsible for the pain that I've experienced, even though I think I've had dysbiosis my entire life and I'm still dealing with that. So, oxalate poisoning, right? I didn't know, like, I thought oxalates were pseudoscience, so I didn't pay that much attention to it. So, I keep eating all these fruits and vegetables and the fiber and stuff until it just gets worse and worse. My IBS gets worse and worse. I developed gas and bloating, and I just felt like I couldn't digest anything anymore. Like, so I start eating less fiber because I was beginning to understand that fiber feeds your microbes, whether they are good microbes or bad microbes. They're going to feed your microbes because you can't digest fiber. So they're going to go into your gut and they're going to feed whatever's in there, whatever microbes are in there. And my microbes were definitely a lot of the bad ones. So it wasn't making me feel good at all. So I was eating less fiber, which made me feel a little better, took away the symptoms a little bit, but I was just having all these SIBO symptoms, um, like and just like bloating and just feeling acid in my throat, kind of like just from the gas, all the gas coming up, like it was not good. So I was just browsing the SIBO subreddit and I found this guy who prescribed ginger and artichoke extract to calm SIBO, right? So I use it and it kind of helps, but it only helps somewhat. Because here's the thing, ginger and artichoke does improve motility, as in it makes your gut move faster, but it's not going to get to the root cause of your problem. Why do you have bacteria overgrowth in the first place or fungal overgrowth? So it doesn't solve the root cause of your problem. In my case, it didn't solve anything except for taking away a little bit of the SIBO symptoms I was experiencing. It gets really, really bad. I start later on. Um, so this last summer, um, I get this like really bad yeast infection, this candida infection, right? It wouldn't go away with cream, like lotion, like the topical cream. So my doctor prescribed fluconazole. And fluconazole is an extremely strong antifungal. I took one pill of it. I was working at the time. I went back to work and then I was like hit with this crazy dizziness, this like nauseating dizziness. I felt like I was dissociating. And then I was just like out. I was out. I just let, I hit a bed and I was out for like 3 hours. And then for the next 2 weeks, I was experiencing this like crazy Herx reaction from this fluconazole. A Herx reaction is when so many microbes in your body die all at once from like an antimicrobial that the endotoxins from the microbes enter your bloodstream and basically you become delirious. And that's what I experienced for like 2 weeks. It took like over 2 weeks for the reaction to dissipate. So obviously I didn't go back to work. But at that point is when I realized I had to do something about these gut issues that I've never done before because it's getting debilitating. it's become debilitating. I can't eat anything without feeling bloated and gassy at night and not unable to sleep. So I seeked out like what medical professionals out there actually know what they're talking about. So I find the IBS treatment center, right? And the IBS treatment center doesn't take insurance because, as everyone knows, insurance is what allows for pharmaceutical companies to tell doctors what to do with their patients. To tell this is what allows pharmaceutical companies to basically control doctors' um, treatments for like to control what they can do for patients against their best judgment. But anyway, so I started getting treated at the IBS treatment center with this doctor, and she hears my story. She's like, "Yeah, that's classic oxalate poisoning." And at this point, I'm like, okay, so what I've been thinking about all these years, and subsequently forgot about, because honestly, I kind of forgot about it after the first oxalate incident. So she was like, yeah, all this is oxalate poisoning, and you might have some mold as well. So I take a urine test and a stool test, and turns out I've been infected with mycotoxins, which mycotoxins are toxins that come from mold, right? If you live in a place that's got too much mold, you start to basically have really bad health. So I wasn't living in this apartment at this time, but like for 2 years of my college career, I was living in this moldy apartment with these like scum landlords who obviously didn't care. And the place was so awful, but I didn't know it was so awful that it was literally making my health worse. So I had mold toxins in my body, and my stool test came back, and my doctor's like, "Yeah, you have severe dysbiosis," meaning I have like a ton of bad bacteria and microbes in my gut. So her solution was like, "Yeah, you have to go carnivore or basically cut out everything that's high oxalate and eat mostly meat." So at this point, I'd already started to introduce meat into my diet, even though I wasn't eating that much of it. But I was eating a lot of rice, meat, and a little bit of vegetable. Because, of course, I realized that these high fiber foods were making me feel really bad, right? So I go carnivore, um, following this doctor's advice. And guess what? Like, I feel so good. The first 2 or 3 weeks going carnivore, I felt amazing, better than I had felt my entire life, right? I had energy. I would go to the gym and push myself, and the next day I wouldn't even be sore. It was actually incredible. So I was like, wow, this is really working. And then maybe 3 weeks later, it hits. The oxalate dumping hits. So my body was like, yeah, it's time. Let's purge all the toxins. So what happens is I was just like out, right? Just like extreme fatigue, dizziness every day. Like I when I looked at something, I felt like I couldn't even see it. It was like kind of blurry. Everything was like kind of blurry. And I was getting these really, really painful burning poops that I was having like earlier when I first turned vegetarian. It came back like with a vengeance every single day, multiple times a day, and it was so painful. It was like I would poop and it would burn, and I would wipe, but and it would still burn. Like I didn't know how to really get rid of it. I had to just be so thorough, but it was really painful. And then the gas and like the bloating in my stomach would come back, even though I was just eating meat. I was eating basically nothing but meat and water at this point, and maybe a little bit of dairy. So, and then at night, I would get like a histamine reaction of like my skin would just be itchy and I'd wake up like feeling like my whole entire body is itching and like I when you would scratch one spot and the itch would like appear in another spot. It was horrible. But I learned that this was a histamine reaction. I guess because of these processes of dumping oxalates and just like purging the mycotoxins as well. The toll it was having on my immune system was just like raising my histamine levels so that if I were to eat a little bit, even a little bit of histamine containing foods, like I would get these itchy bumps like on my body. And if it was really bad, like pork belly is high in histamine, so I would eat pork belly and I would instantly get really bloated and uncomfortable and even nauseous. But what's helped this bloating and stuff is ginger. Just like boiling ginger in some water and drinking that water helped a lot. So basically, going carnivore made me feel really good, then really bad. And I'm still in that bad phase. So I would oxalate dump, and then there would be like maybe 1 or 2 days when it would stop and I would feel okay. I wouldn't feel very good, but I would feel okay, like I wasn't actively dumping. And then as the time went on, like it's been going on for like the past 3 or 4 months now. As time went on, yeah, maybe 4 or 5 actually. The pockets when I would feel fine would get maybe like from 2 days to 3 days, from 3 to 4 days, or 4 to 5 days now. And each of those like rest pockets would feel better and better, and I would have more and more energy. And nowadays, I'll get like periods of like 4 to 5 days where I feel honestly pretty good. Like I have energy and I don't feel extremely bloated or gassy, and I don't have like burning poops for like 4 or 5 days, and it feels great. And then it would go back into dumping, and I would feel the f fatigue and brain fog again, and stuff like that. But so that is seemingly getting better. The oxalates are seemingly getting dumped, and I'm feeling less of the very severe oxalate dumping symptoms. Looking back, if I were to do it again, I probably wouldn't just go straight carnivore. I would kind of taper off the oxalate containing foods, maybe eat like one carrot a day, or like maybe a piece of carrot a day, that big and then that big, like tapering it off a little bit so that I wasn't feeling the extreme dumping. But, and also staying hydrated. Like I would have stayed a lot more hydrated if I knew that it was going to be that important. Because sometimes if I'm getting really bad brain fog, I drink a lot of water, an insane amount of water, maybe like two of these. This is a big jar, and it would make um my brain fog taper down a little bit. Not completely go away, but at least a little less of it. So so that happened, but I expected all my like if I were to do the GI map again, like the stool test, I would expect the results to be a little better, right? But I did another one, a second GI map test like a few days ago. I got the results back a few days ago, and oddly enough, my results are worse. So I'll just show you. Share the screen. Yeah, like this is the first GI map that I did. Nothing very interesting here. No pathogens, which is great. No H. pylori. Nothing that interesting here with like the good bacteria. There's a lot of like bacteria in my gut at this point, which might be like why I was experiencing the SIBO, just like the bloating in the small intestine. But this is what caused the doctor to tell me that I had severe gut dysbiosis because I had a lot of these overgrowth microbes that were high. Morganella, Staphylococcus, Streptococcus, and these inflammatory and autoimmune related bacteria, which showed in that my calprotectin was really high. And calprotectin is a marker of um, colon inflammation. So people with ulcerative colitis, Crohn's, with inflammatory bowel disease type conditions have high calprotectin. So mine was pretty high here. And after I went carnivore for like 3 months or so, my calprotectin went down, the inflammatory marker. So I had less colon inflammation from going carnivore. And the inflammatory and autoimmune bacteria went down as well. So I basically ended up with none of these detectable, which is great. But the bad thing is now I have C. diff, which I didn't have before. C. diff is like this deadly bacteria, or it can be a deadly microbe. It kills 15,000 people in the US every year. So that's scary. How did I just suddenly come up with this? And then I came up with some E. coli that wasn't there too. And then I came up with some H. pylori that was previously undetectable. So seemingly going carnivore and dumping oxalates has made my gut dysbiosis even worse. But and now I have like overgrowth of these crazy like these like famously harmful bacteria or microbes. And then I've also lost some commensal bacteria here. I lost the fecal bacterium. I have like less lactobacillus and enterobacter. Then I just have much less microbes in general, it seems like, based on this. Like, of course, I'm not a doctor and I don't exactly know the details of how to interpret everything. And I came up with some other weird stuff like pseudomonas. I didn't have any pseudomonas previously, but now I do, which is kind of scary. Because apparently they create like biofilms and it makes it really hard to like get rid of. So, I mean, what's the takeaway? The takeaway is that no, I haven't like completely solved my issues from just going carnivore. I wish it was that easy. If I would just go carnivore and I'll get better. But it's been this long, painful journey of dumping oxalates, and I'm not even there yet. I still have more to figure out. It seems like my bacteria is going out of whack, and I don't know how I'm gonna deal with that. I'll have to meet with the doctor again to figure that out. But I'm gonna get better or I'm gonna die trying. And I feel for once as if I am making progress. So I'm just gonna continue on this journey and hopefully I'll be back with more updates for you guys so that you guys can learn from my experiences too. It's been a long, hard journey, and I hope that I can heal completely and have good health for once. And I hope the same for you too. If you're out there watching and you have gut issues, I hope that my this journal of mine can help you with maybe some insights on your problems, even though your problems might not be exactly the same as mine. But I think there are some key takeaways that I can give. Number one is that a plant-based diet is not a solution. I don't think it really can be, especially if it's high in oxalates. Oxalates cannot be good for anyone. It is not a nutrient, it is an anti-nutrient. It saps your minerals and it causes you to build up oxalates in your system, and it's a toxin. So I hope you understand that oxalates are not good for you, and spinach is not good for you. Tomatoes are not good for you. Potatoes, chocolates, these things can be the cause of your gut issues For a lot of people, they are. And I hope that doctors actually figure this out and realize that not all plants that are served to us to eat are good for us. And then I guess the second takeaway is that going carnivore will probably decrease. At least it will feed your gut bacteria a lot less than if you're eating a bunch of fiber. If you're getting SIBO, if you have too much bacteria, if you have an infection that's going out of control, please try carnivore because it might actually give you like rest from your symptoms. It might actually make you feel a lot better, at least for the short term. For me, I was kind of forced into being carnivore in order for me to feel good at all. And I think that's the case for many people, but it's just become kind of the common knowledge that you have to eat fiber to get your nutrients. You have to eat plants to get your nutrients. I don't think that's the case at all. There are many nutrients in plants that are not present. There are many nutrients in animal products that are not present in plants. For example, vitamin E, uh, taurine, like a full like protein profile, like the full range of amino acids, saturated fat, etc. But regardless, I hope that you can solve your issues for good, and I stand with you, and I'm rooting for you. And if you can leave me a comment, I'll try to encourage you as well. But hopefully, I'm going to make more of these journals to keep track of my progress and um, hopefully help everyone learn because a lot of us are on our own, but I believe that all of us can heal from this toxic mess. Thank you very much.